Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode with your freezing cold girl, Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully, you guys are having a lovely Saturday, and I'm just trying to stay warm. But if anything, what I really need assistance from you guys is I am trying to develop my next book, and I just want to kind of throw some questions at you. Let's see what sticks on the wall and which one should I just basically chuck out. But while we're doing this, I'm also helping you to develop your math skills. So if you are, let's just say maybe someone between the ages of maybe 25 and up, and you've always struggled with math and you really want to get some of that confidence as well as structure, then this is the live for you. So what I do is I'm just going to put up a couple of problems up here. We're going to answer it, and then all of a sudden you're just going to kind of help me out by, scaling it. Is it a 1? Should I chuck it out? Is it a 3? Yeah, you should put it in the book. This is definitely something that will kind of build people up. Or is this a 5? Like, girl, this was hard as I don't know what. So let's see what we got here. So right now I want you to simplify. So we have 2 times the square root of 49 plus 9 times the square root of 4 minus 10 times the square root of 16. So all we're doing here is simplifying. Hello, Bobby. How are you? Hello, Miss Sis. How are you? William, how are you doing? Thank you guys for coming on in and stopping on by. Well, good afternoon, Mathematics Fantastic. How are you? Hopefully things are going well. Thank you so much for the follow badge. Hello, Janice. How are you doing? Hey, Alex. Alex is telling me 18. All right. So my first person to see if we can solve it. Let's see what we can get out of here. All right. So is it that? No, it's not. Let it go. Let it go. It's old now. Because once you get someone my age saying it, it's old. It's outplayed. Okay, so we have Medi is saying -8. All right, thank you so much. Frank T is saying it's also -8. All right, so we got 2 people in agreement. All right, thank you so much, everyone, that's coming on in. Let's see what we got here. All right, I was just going to wait until at least maybe 1, maybe 2 more people just to give it a try. All right, well, Z's giving me a -8. Mathtastic is saying -8. All right, so first thing we need to understand our square roots, our radicals. So the reason why I say it's a square root, because right in front of that square root, I don't see a number. The lowest root that you can have is a square root. There's no such thing as a 1 root. That's all nice and fun and good, but no, doesn't exist. So what we can do is see if these are what's called perfect square roots. So if I take a look at 49, so let me get my handy dandy cards right here. So if we take a look at 49, so 49, that's the same as dealing with, sorry, I'm trying to get all my cards together here. That's the same as saying, underneath that 49, that will give me my 7 squared. And you're probably saying, Audrey, well, what's 7 squared? Well, 7 squared is 7 times 7. So if I were to do the square root of 7 squared, just in case you haven't noticed, that square roots and squares, they're inverses of each other. They're opposites, so they cancel each other out. So if they cancel this part out, chuck that, what's left? It's a 7. So that means this square root of 49, that's actually going to be a 7. Now, since it's 2 times the square root of 49, that means we're going to be multiplying this lovely 2 to that 7. Okay? Same thing is happening with the square root of 4. So square root of 4... So when we're looking at the square root of 4, gotta take all these lovely cards out here. Okay, if I took the square of that, that's the same as me saying 2 squared. Because 2 squared, 2 times 2 does give me 4. Now, When I'm looking at that, remember what I said. If I slide this over, the square root and the squares, they're inverses of each other. Boom, boom, they cancel each other out. So what's left is going to be a 2. So instead of that square root of 4 being there, it's now a 2. Bring down my minus 10. Now we have the square root of 16. So if we have our square root of 16, that will give us our 4 times 4. Okay, so 4 times 4, or 4 squared, is equivalent to my 16. But if I am taking the square root of 4 squared, remember the square and the square roots, they cancel each other out. And what's left over is our 4. So now we have the square root of 16. That gives us the whole number of 4. So from here, we want to break it down even further. So 2 times 7, that gives us our 14. 9 times 2, that brings us our 18. And 10 times 4, that gives us our 40. So now we want to go order of operation from left to right. So that means I need to basically add those two together, okay, which will give me a 32, okay, because 4 plus 8, that gives me 12, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 gives me 2, plus the 1 that we carried gives me my 3. Now we're going to bring down the minus 40. So let's take a look. That 40, that's negative. The 32, that's positive. So it's almost like saying, you owe me $40. You paid me 32. Guess what? You still owe me negative $8. Okay, so my answer for this one is going to be a negative 8. Good job. All right, so let's be aggressive with our answers. Hello, Jenny, I see you there. All right, Jacqueline, I see you coming in. Thank you so much. All right, so with all of this, now, based on this type of question, what would you rate it? Okay, a 1? A 3? Okay, I can see that being in a book and helping people out. Or a 5? Yes. Just yes, Audrey. Yes. So go ahead and put in the chat. Do you want a 1, a 3, or a 5? You can definitely do numbers in between. A 2 or a 4. I will accept anything because right now I just really want to basically get a good idea of making sure I'm providing instead of just being, I don't know, another notebook or another workbook. I want to be more than that. All right, so I got some 5s, got some 10s. All right, thank you so much for the rating, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, Terror on the Hill is probably a 10. All right, cool. I will accept that graciously. All right, so let's take a look at another one. All right, so I will say that's probably like a good 5er. Thank you. All right, so now going into a little bit of solving. I know you're probably like, oh, I'm out. Nope. Don't be out. Because here's my thing. If you are thinking about getting your GED, your ASVAB, your ACCUPLACER, your TEAS test, your HESI test, your praxis exam, your IBEW exam, any kind of high school equivalency, STARS, whatever you want. If it has algebra in it, you're going to see this, okay? Especially for my GED ones, you're probably going to see something like this. Definitely my ASVAB. You're definitely going to see this. This is going to be in those higher ranges, and that's where we want to be. We want to be past that basic 31. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, so something tells me that I might have to do it step by step. Not a problem. That's why I'm here. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. We have a square root of 2x plus 1 equals x. Well, in order for us, the ultimate goal is to get x by itself, we need to get rid of this square root. And like I said, the inverse of the square root is squaring it. Whatever you do on one side, you need to do on the other side. Okay? So what happens is this square and this square root will cancel each other out. So what we will get is 2x plus 1 is equal to x squared. Once I see that x squared, right away, I'm knowing, oh, we got to do some factoring. And this equation has to equal 0. Okay, like there's no other way around it. So if I want to, I really want to get my leading coefficient and keep that as positive as we can. So that means this 2x and this 1 needs to go to the same side as the x squared. In order for me to do that, I'm going to have to subtract my 2x from both sides. Always have to do the inverse because it's a positive 2x. And while I'm here, I'm going to subtract my 1 on both sides. So when they cancel to give me 0. And that's what we want. Then over here, we're going to have x squared minus 2x minus 1. So now, for a lot of my students, especially anybody that's going into college algebra, anyone that is taking Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, you guys should be kind of about to start into factoring by now, okay? Really, you should have. If you're not, you need to message me, okay? Because we need to get you up to speed, okay? So we are going to need to factor this out. So my A value, the number in front of the x squared is a 1. My B value, the number that's in front of the x is a -2. And my constant is a -1. So this is what we have to think. What two numbers multiplied will give me a -1 and add together to give me a -2? Okay, what two numbers multiply, give you some time to think, will give me a -1, so it's not too many options, right? And those same numbers add together to give me a -2. Oh, good. Congratulations on passing your ACCUPLACER. I see that. Now, if you put the x squared on the other side, that means you're going to have to divide everything by -1. And guess what? You're going to get the same stuff. Okay? All right? So, I can't use because -2 times 1 doesn't give me a -1. Okay? You're thinking, which is awesome. So the only things that can give me through multiplication to give me a -1, that's 1 and -1. So 1 times -1, that gives me a -1. So that works. But does 1 plus -1 give me a -2? Yes or no? Okay, thank you for the follows, guys. Okay, so does 1 plus -1 give me -2? Exactly, T. Exactly. It's 0. No, exactly. No, no. Yes, Daniel, that's what we're about to get into it. No, your mother, oh, your mother loves me. Oh, she does. She loves everyone. Okay, no, that's right. That gives you a 0. It will cancel out. So, hey, Nicole. So we won't be able to use this. So since we won't be able to factor normally with the AC method, we're going to have to do what everybody loves to do. The quadratic formula. I know, everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. I'm being sarcastic. All right, so we have x equals the -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is telling me I'm not going to have real numbers. I'm going to have what's called complex numbers. Okay? I'm going to tell you what the complex numbers are after we solve this. So again, I'm going to write over here, our A was 1, our B was -2, and our C was -1. So, for all my GED lovers out there, ready? Okay. This is a 4-point question. Okay. They may ask you to factor and you're going to have to use what's called the quadratic formula. This is a 4-point question, so you want to pay attention to this. You need at least 3 solid 4-point questions in order to pass the GED. Okay? Trust and believe. If you're ASVAT, okay, this is definitely in the 40s, late 50s. So if you start seeing stuff like this, you're doing pretty good. You're definitely surpassed that 31. And I know a lot of people want to get into the careers that gets around like the 60s, well, the 50s and 60s mark. Okay? This is what you have to do. We are going to plug in. Let me zoom in a little bit. We're going to plug in these numbers for these letters. So, for the first one, it's a -2, because my B is a -2. So you're just substituting just for the B, not for the sign and the B, okay? Got my plus minus. Here's my radical. Now I'm going to substitute for the B again. And remember, the B was a -2. Minus 4 times my A, and the A is a 1. Times my C, and my C is a -1. Okay, we're just plugging it into the formula. Over 2 times our A, which is 1. And after you do these things and you practice and get used to it, then you won't have to worry so much about if you know you're plugging in a 1 for the A. You're just like, all right, the denominator's 2. But right now we're going through it step by step. Okay? So let's get with it. A negative times a negative, that gives us a positive. So we're looking at a positive 2. Bring down the plus minus. Bring down the square root. And now, this is the part that gets people. -2 squared. Now, GED, ACCUPLACER, ASVAB, you cannot use a calculator. Okay? So, if you are SAT, ACT, can do plug in numbers into the calculators, every time you're plugging in a negative, put parentheses around it. Because if you don't, the calculator will square the 2, which will give you a 4, and then just tack on the negative. That's why anytime I substitute a negative number, I always put parentheses around it. All right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, so you have your calculator. If I just type in -2 squared versus parenthesis -2 squared, notice we get 2 different answers. Okay? So if you're plugging in, this is what the calculator did. It squared the 2 and then tacked on the negative. That's why you got the -4. So anytime you plug in a negative into the calculator, put parentheses around it. Because -2 times -2 will give me a positive 4. Now, a -4 times a positive 1 gives me a -4. A -4 times a -1 gives me a positive 4. All over 2. Okay, doing all right? So now, 4 plus 4, that gives me 8. So we have 2 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. Now, the square root of 8, it can be broken down. but we need what's called a perfect prime combination. What two numbers multiplied together has a perfect square root and a prime number? So if you're a little stuck on the perfect square roots, this is what I mean. Perfect square root is square root of 1, square root of 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144. So obviously, we don't need to go that far because it's 8, right? So user 101 is saying, yep, 4 and 2. Okay, William, 2 and 4. Okay, got to say, okay, good. All right, 2 is square root of 2, good. 4 and 2, prime factorization, you can do that. All right, you can do that with the 4 and the 2. Awesome. So, square root of 4, square root of 2. Square root of 4, perfect square root. Remember we talked about that earlier? Which is square root? That will give us 2. Square root of 2, that's prime. I can't break it down because the only way I can get a 2 through multiplication is 1 and 2. That's it, right? So if I can't break it down, I'm bringing it down. So now I'm going to replace this square root of 8 with my 2 square root of 2. So here we go. We got our 2 plus or minus. Put it over 2. I'm going to input my 2 square root of 2. So last, till we can get to our final answers. So here we have a 2, here we have a 2, and here we have a 2. So all 3 spots, all coefficients and constants, all have something in common, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2, that'll give me a 1. Same here and same here. So what my final answer is, since it's over 1, I don't need that. Okay, because anything divided by 1 is itself. So all I have to do is write my 1 plus or minus square root of 2. Now, I was talking about complex numbers. Complex numbers, irrational type of lovely little numbers, they always come in pairs, and they are called the conjugates. Okay, conjugate. The reason why I say that, you have 2 answers right here. One of them is 1 plus the square root of 2, and the other is 1 minus the square root of 2. Hence the plus minus. Okay, so you have your 2 answers, your 2 solutions, and they are not real. So here's my thing. Here's my little suggestion. If you tried to break down just like how we did earlier, okay, and we notice we couldn't come up with a number multiplied and add together to give us these 2 terms, and you notice you're going to have to do the quadratic formula, and if there is an option that says non-real zeros, that's your answer. Because if I tried to do this like we did by looking at the quadratic formula, that's exactly what you got. You have 2 non-real zeros, right? Okay. Are we all right? Okay. All right. So what grade is this? This, I want to say, this is definitely high school. This is definitely like Algebra 1, if it's slightly advanced, Algebra 2. Definitely second semester. Okay? A lot of people should already be in, they should be in quadratic formula right now for some of the Algebra 1 people. Okay? And it should be going into factoring. And I know because of the storms might have pushed some people back, but that's what we're working on. All right, so how would you rate that one? Like, oh, Audrey, that was way too easy. I mean, hell, we had how many people here, and a lot of people just left. Yes, all right. Yeah, because it's not less than 0. You're right, Ian. But I'm going to say it this way because it's easier. Can I show my full card? There. It just says simplify. All right, or solve. Okay. Did we just get started? The second problem. Okay, 1 out of 10. Is it 1 out of 10 because you're like, I never understood it? Or was it 1 out of 10 because it was way, way easy? Okay. All right. So you like it? Okay. All right. Hey, Kelly, how are you? All right. So let's take another one. I think this is going to be like definitely like a 5. A little bit of challenge with it. All right. So let's try. What was the other one that I wanted? Oh, not yet for that one. Oh, let me share. Not these. Not yet. I had another one. And where did it go? Let me share with this one. This one. So we're going to simplify. We got the square root of 100 minus the square root of -7 plus the square root of 36 minus the square root of -64. Okay. Yep. You're trying to figure out distance, rate, and time? Don't forget the triangle. That was all. What's the name of that problem? Radicals. Yes. Radical functions. Yeah, distance, rate, and time. You gotta always remember your triangle. You're like your distance, here's your rate, here's your time. If you're looking for your distance, cover up the D, you multiply your rate and your time. If you're looking for the time, coming up the T. That means you're doing your distance divided by your rate. If you're looking for your rate, cover up the R. That means you're looking at your distance divided by your time. There you go. Enough said. It's as simple as that. Okay. All right. Not a problem. All right. So, yes, I'm starting to see some people saying, oh, there's no solution. Yeah, there's no real solutions, but they have something called a complex number. All right. So let's go through it step by step. So we have the square root of 100. Square root of 100, that is one of our lovely perfect squares. Remember that? Square root of 100. That means in order for me to get 100, I have to multiply or do 10 squared. So if I wanted to convert my 100 to 10 squared, that means I have the square root of 10 squared. Square roots and squares are inverses of each other. So when they cancel each other out, what's left? It's a 10. So the square root of 100 is 10. Bring down the minus sign. Now we have the square root of a -7. Guess what, guys? We cannot have a negative underneath a square root. So this is going to need to be factored out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out a -1. The square root of -1 is a number. And you're like, it is? I'm like, yeah, it is. Square root of -1 is called a complex number. Square root of -1 is I. And you're like, what? Yes. There are 2 letters in the alphabet that should not be used as variables because they're actually numbers. And one of them is I, which is equivalent to the square root of -1. And the other one is E. E is actually a number. You're like, what? Yes, there you go, Nicole. She remembers. All right. So if I said E raised to the first power, and I hit my little enter, look, E actually represents a number. Okay. So, but we're going to focus right now on complex numbers, dealing with our I's. So anytime I see a square root of -1, I'm going to replace it with an I. Okay? As we go into multiplying and dividing, when you have I squared, that's equivalent to -1, because this is what's happening. If I square my I, which is the square root of -1, remember, squares and square roots are inverses of each other. They cancel each other out. And guess what's left over? The -1. That's why I squared is equal to -1. You will see these two very much so. Okay, you will definitely see these two more so than the other two. Okay, back to the problem. Had to do a little side note. Okay, so now we have our minus sign here. We have our square root of -1, which is I, and we just bring down the square root of 7. Okay, so we factor out the -1, make it have its own radical. We brought down the positive 7. The square root of -1 is I. That's where this came from. And we brought down the square root of 7. Because 7 is an odd number. Well, it's prime, so I can't break it down. Next part, we got a plus sign. Square root of 36. Square root of 36 is a perfect square. Okay? Square root of 36 is a perfect square. Thank you, Nicole. There it is. So it's going to give us 6. Nice, Janice. It gives us 6. Okay? So since 6 times 6 will give us our 36, so the square root of 36 is 6. Minus sign comes on down. Hey, look again. Square root of -64. Right away, we got to get rid of that negative. So we're factoring out a -1 and factoring out a 64. 64, that's a perfect square root, right? There you go. Nicole's giving me, 8? Yup. So that means the square root of 64, that gives me a whole number of 8. But we still have the square root of -1. So that still is going to be my I. Now, just like most, you always want to have your number before the letter. Okay? The number before the variable. We never want to put the number behind the variable because you will think, oh, I must have made a mistake. It's I to the 8th power. And then you all got stuff all over the place. Okay? So always put the number before the variable. So now we get to combine. We get to combine like terms. What do you think are my like terms? What are my like terms? I know some people are just like watching. That's fine. Okay. What are my like terms? Hey, Michael, how are you? Okay. So you use J for engineering? Okay. All right, John. See? Okay, Teresa, we got our 10 and 6. We have a 10 and -6. We have 10 and 6. Okay, negative sign, 10 and 6. Okay, we got 10 and 6 with Kaylee. Got 10 and 6. 10 and 6. Awesome. All right. So these are like terms. Okay, they don't have a variable attached to it. Doesn't have an I attached to it. Doesn't have a radical attached to it. So we have our 10 plus 6. That gives us our 16. So now a lot of people are like, oh, well, can I combine the two I's? Well, this I has a radical with it. and this one doesn't. Okay? It really doesn't matter which one comes down first because they're not like terms. They could both have I's and both have square root of 7s. Yes, you can run with that. Or if they both have I's and a number, yes, you can run with that. If that square root of 7 wasn't there, yes, I would subtract, I would say negative 1I minus 8I. But since that's there, no sir, no ma'am. So we have our minus I square root of 7 minus 8I. This, as crazy as it may look, is your answer. Okay. Because we're not multiplying, so that's why we're not doing any I squared. Just know. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, they're not going to do all that, Carly. They're not going to do all that. Okay. Has to be a multiple choice question. Well, if it's ACCUPLACER, this is not going to be a multiple choice question. No, this will be like one of those fill-ins. All right. So, no, we pulled out, so upcoming pilots, we pulled out the I from the square root of negative 7. That's how we got this square root of negative 1 here, because the square root of negative 1 is I. All right. Yep. A little bit of college algebra. Okay. All right. So let's take a look. All right. How would you rate it? 1, 3, or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 5 being, oh, good God, yes. 1, not easy. Get rid of it. Okay. Let's go with some 5s. 5s plus. Okay, good. You're saying like a 1 silly willy. All right, we got like a 3. And I know it's probably because when you saw it, you're like, yeah, don't even know. Okay? But hopefully you understand. On this platform, I like to go and break things down. But at the same time, I need to be realistic. Because if you are thinking about getting your GED, getting your ASVAB, your ACCUPLACER, or just getting over this thing called math phobia so you can help your own child, all right, instead of relying on a tutor and not freaking out, this is the platform. That's what I want. I want to help build your confidence in math. I want to kind of give you some kind of structure in it as well, okay? So, you know, where did the sign in front of the 7 come from? What? Right here or this one? So the ACCUPLACER is usually, well, some people might know it as PERT. It's like a pre-test to see which classes, which if you're college ready. Let's put it that way. And then which math class they're going to try to put you in. Okay. The question mark. That's not a question mark. That's an I. Yeah, I'm not trying to speak Spanish. Sorry. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. Seeing some 5s. Thank you. All right, so let's stick with the love and trust of... I don't know why it's sticking. All right. Sticking with the love of Ives. Okay, simplifying. Okay, there's no escaping. So there's no like, oh, this is so hard. This is above my pay grade. Well, if you want to get your GED and if you want to raise up in the ACCUPLACER and the ASVAB, this is what you need to do. Okay? If I have to be the kick in the ass that you need, here we are. Ready? Do you feel the foot? Enjoy it. Because this is what we need to do. Okay? All right? You can have some other places that can coddle you. I'm not going to coddle you. But I'm going to break it down. build up your confidence a little bit. Okay, give you a little bit of structure. I'm here to help you. Okay. All right. So always take a moment. Let's see what you guys can get. Okay, looking between the two parentheses, there is a minus sign. There is a reason why that is there. All right. Okay, you feel the foot? Good. Not a problem. All right, so we have user 45 with my -4 and -6i. Okay, definitely but needed. I know. We can't coddle anymore. We are no longer that middle school or elementary school kid that was afraid to ask questions. We're older now. It's time. Okay, next turn saying -4, -6i. Gage, -4, -6i. Michael, -4, -6i. All right, got user. Okay, turn to positives. Is wage? Is Isa wage? I don't know. Let's say -6i -4, which I'll show you in a second. Yep, I got you, Michael. It's the next one. You're in my head. Okay, so with -6i -4, okay, -3, -5i. Do you distribute or FOIL? We are not multiplying. We will be. We will be. Okay. Oklahoma. Okay, so we have our -3, -1, -3, Jeanette with plus the 5i. Who was underneath Jeanette? Yep, with the -4, -6i. All right, -2 and plus 8i. All right, let's go. Anytime you have a plus or a minus in between the two parentheses, all you're doing is finding like terms and you're combining them. That's it. Okay? So that's why I always say when they see simplify and you see parentheses, take a moment, look in between the two parentheses. If you don't see a plus or a minus sign, that means you're multiplying. If you see a plus or a minus sign, you're going to be doing that. So if I got my like terms together, we have -1 -3. Then I have a -i -5i. Okay, I'm subtracting or changing. So if you want to recall, we were doing subtraction. You can do keep, change, flip. Okay, if you want to change this to a plus, so you can make this into from a positive to a negative and make this from a positive to a negative. That's what's happening down here. So now let's combine our like terms right here. -1 -3. They're both negative. So that means my answer is going to be negative and I'm going to add them, which is a 4. Now I have -i and a -5i. If I don't see a number, there's assumed to be a 1 there because there's one physical I right there. Again, both of them are negative, so we're going to keep the sign and add them together. 1 plus 5, that gives me 6. And they both have an I, so it's 6i. You always want, and here's another thing, you always want your answer to be in this format. Okay? You want your constants first, and then your b times I at the end. Okay? So if you said -6i -4, you're not completely wrong, but I know for a fact they will use that if this was a multiple choice question, and people will pick that because you're like, all right, -6i and then -4. Okay, but if you don't have it in this proper format, immediately it'll be wrong. So you probably gained like a few points just by knowing how the answer should be displayed. Okay, yes, it has to be in that standard form. Thank you, MJG. All right, no problem. Yep, the constant, then the coefficient. There you go, W1. Oh, for my tutoring, I do trig identities. Okay. What does I represent? I represents the square root of -1. It's one of those complex numbers. Okay. And to go from I to I squared to get that -1, if you squared both that, if you squared the square root of -1, it will give you -1. And if you cubed it, it will be -I. And I to the 4th is just equal to 1. Because take a look, if I did I squared times I squared, that will give me I to the 4th. So that's the same as saying -1 times -1, which gives me a +1. Definitely understand the first two. If you're taking GED and all those standardized assessments, the first two is going to be helpful. Okay. All right. Okay. So, how would you rate it? I'm sorry. I'm ready to move on. How would you rate it? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? 5 being yes, put that in the book. 1, it's so easy. And 3, like, it's like, your favorite ice cream, but it could use something, right? All right. Okay, it looks easy. Okay. And I think once you get to it, all right, so I got some 1s, got about some 3s, got some 1s, some 5s. Okay, in GD class. All right, good, Jeanette, good. Glad this is working. Right. All you have to do is just break it on down. Break it on down. All right, so I would say probably around a 3 for most of you guys when I'm looking at some of the averages. Okay, so let's give, this one a try. Okay, so 5 minus 8i times 8 minus 6i. How to pass the GED? Well, one of the things is be real with yourself, be consistent, find something that is going to give you the structure that you're going to need to understand the concepts so you can do process of elimination. So we all know it's basically a multiple choice test. But if you can know enough to eliminate at least 2 options, that will work for you. Also, definitely study up, and this is all for people that are trying to get their GEDs and they need some assistance. Definitely study up on slope, equation of the line, system of equations, system of inequalities, volume, area, circumference, what was the other thing? And anything that has to deal with linear equations. Anything and everything, even graphing. How to read a graph, how to read a table. And if you can understand your distance, rate, and time, and basic arithmetic like fractions to decimal, decimals to percent, and just understanding your positive and negative numbers in order of operations and exponents, if you can get those down, you'll pass the test. But you can't skip any of the slope questions. You won't pass. You won't pass. Okay. College math exam. Why are you stressing over it? All right. Thank you. Yep. The word problems, that's all mixed in there. Most of the time, the word problems, you guys worry so much about the word problems because you're worried about the scenario that they're offering. No, pull the math that's out of it. They'll tell you factor, estimate, domain, range. If you understand the terminology, you can do the math part of it. Okay. What about GED? I just explained GED. Okay, you just came in. Okay, so this one, yes. I'll repeat that after this. This one, take a look in between the parentheses. Okay, getting some of the stuff Got like 40 minus 48i. I got negative 8 minus 94i. I got negative 8 minus 48i. All right. So in between the parentheses, I don't see a plus or a minus. So that means you're doing FOIL. Okay. Or I just like to say you're distributing, because that's what FOIL is. FOIL is only for when you have two binomials, in which that's what we have here. So now we're going to multiply. I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to distribute. And when I distribute, I'm multiplying to everything in that second parenthesis. So I have 5 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Okay. Now I have a positive 5 times a negative 6i. So a positive times a negative is negative. And 5 times 6 is 30. So that will be 30i. So now I'm going to take this negative 8i and I'm going to distribute that to everything inside of the second parenthesis. So negative 8 times positive 8, a negative times a positive is a negative. 8i times 8, that gives me 64i. Now I have a negative times a negative, that gives me a positive. 8 times 6 gives me 48. And I times I, which a lot of people skip, is I squared. Okay, when you're multiplying and you have the same base, you add the exponents. If you don't see an exponent, it's assumed to be a 1. So now, right here, smack in the middle, let's see if I got life with this marker. Yeah, I do. Okay. Right here, smack in the middle, we have a negative 30 and a negative 64. Since they're both negatives and they both have an I, that means my answer is going to be negative. And I'm going to add these two, which gives me that 94i. Not I squared, because here I'm combining. When I'm combining, not multiplying, I'm just basically using the letter. I don't want to say it's a variable because it is a number. Using the letter to match for my like terms. Now, this 40 and this 48 will eventually, I'll be able to combine those two. And this is how I know. Because remember what I said? We got I squared. I squared is equivalent to negative 1. So where I see that I squared, I'm putting a negative 1. The negative 1 came from the I squared. So now you have 48 times negative 1, so that's a negative 48. So guess what? We got like terms again right here with the 40 and the negative 48. I didn't know I had life in this marker anymore. Okay. So 40 minus 48. So it's the same as saying you owed me $48. You paid me 40. That means you still owe me $8. Stop owing me money. And then the negative 94i just drops on down. And we already have it in its standard form. Okay. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. This one's a good one. Okay. It's getting real, y'all. I know. Okay. Hey, Big Al, how are you? All right. So definitely a 5er for this one. They're like, ooh, I like it. I like it. All right. So what would you rate it? Would you rate it at 1, a 3, or 5? You can do 2 and 4 as well. Okay. You can be real. Can I go back? Can I go back to what? Okay. So you got lost? Okay. Okay, 5 out of 5, by the way. Rated 5. Can I explain it again? I'm just kidding. All right, so multiplication. You're taking your 5, you're distributing to everything in the second parenthesis. 5 times 8 gives me 40. 5 times negative 6i gives me negative 30i. Now I'm taking the negative 8i and I'm multiplying to everything in the parenthesis. So negative 8i times 8 gives me negative 64. Negative 8i times negative 6i gives me a positive 48i squared. Because when you multiply I times I, that's I squared. Now, I squared is equivalent to negative 1. So 48 times negative 1 gives me a negative 48. Right here in the center, I have my like terms that I can combine. So I have negative 30 minus 64i gives me negative 94i. Bring down the 40. So now 40 minus 48 gives me a negative 8. And minus 94i comes on down. So that is your final answer, and it's already in standard form. My 6 don't look like a 6, though. What the hell does it look like? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay. So a lot of them see the I, because it's almost like some people keep thinking it's a question mark. And I'm like, dude, I'm not speaking Spanish. Okay. So this is a cursive I with the I squared. So I get you. My penmanship is not as it used to be, but let's see if you guys really get it. So let's try this one. So you guys already told me this is a 5, so I appreciate you. Okay. So very similar to the last one that we just did. Let's see. We have 7 plus 7i times negative 10 plus 3i. So people were asking me a little bit about GED. What are the things to really focus on? Here's my thing. You're taking the test, so you're showing that you know how to. Okay? So you're going to have to basically expose yourself to a lot of different concepts. Everything from starting with the different types of numbers, integers, fractions, decimals, percents, your distance, rate, and time type of word problems, a lot of your basic arithmetic, exponents, your order of operations. You need that. That's the heart and soul. But you are also the reason why I think a lot of you guys just can't pass the test is because you keep skipping the 4-point questions. The 4-point questions consist of your slope, the equation of the line, graphing, knowing how to look at a coordinate plane, talking about the different quadrants, looking at parallel and perpendicular lines and knowing their slopes, looking at system of equations, either solving it through graphing, substitution, or elimination. And a lot of those are really hidden in word problems. Also looking at system of inequalities. What was the other thing? System of inequalities. Then knowing volume, area, perimeter, okay? Especially when they start doing like compound inequalities, looking at functions. That was the other thing I forgot to mention earlier, the functions. All those are 4-point questions. If you skip those, you really just need to hit a good 3 or sometimes 4 of those 4-point questions. But if you skip those type of questions and just focus on the arithmetic, you're not going to pass the test. You're just not. So you're really going to have to settle down and buckle down and try to learn them. I know there's a lot of people that are just giving out free stuff and you want to try to learn it and do it the free way. Hey, that's great. I understand because everybody's money is funny nowadays. But I'm going to ask the question, how's that working out for you? How many more times do you want to fail this test? How many? Okay, so let's step it up. And this is why I decided to make my platform really for 25 and up is what I've been trying to focus on. But, I got some high schoolers that come in here, sometimes middle schoolers that come in here as well, to really help you build your courage. It's not because you suck at math. It's because your confidence was shut down when you were a kid, when you were first introduced to algebra. You were struggling with basic math, and then all of a sudden they throw some letters and numbers together, and you were like, what in the holy hell was this? What happened here? Right, exactly, Chris. Everyone's brain is not cut out for it. But here's my thing. In order for you to step up, and some of you guys can probably just work circles around people that have degrees, but because you don't have that piece of paper, you can't apply for that job. And in your heart, you definitely can get that job done. And you're probably doing it, but you're not getting paid because you don't have this piece of paper. And I want you to get this piece of paper. That's what I want to do. I want you to achieve your goal and to basically live a comfortable and a confident life. And if math is what's getting in the way, let me show you how. So that's why I come in here. And believe it or not, Monday will be my year anniversary of doing these lives. All right. So let's break this down. So again, in between the parentheses, I don't see a plus or a minus. So that means I'm multiplying. So that means I'm going to take this 7 and I'm going to distribute to everything in that second parenthesis. So 7 times -10, that gives me -70. And then 7 times 3i, that gives me a positive 21i. So now I'm going to take this positive 7i and I'm going to distribute to everything in the second parenthesis. So 7i times -10, that's -70i. Because when you have a positive times a negative, when the signs are opposite and you're multiplying, your answer is always going to be negative. And then 7 times -10 gives us our -70. Positive 7i times positive 3i, 7 times 3, that gives me a positive 21. And I times I gives me I squared. So if you haven't noticed, right here in the middle, we have like terms. So I can bring down my -70. So we have a positive and a negative. So we have our negative. So I'm going to borrow from the 7 and make it a 6. 6 minus 2, that gives me my 4. And now that's going to be a 10 minus 1, that gives me 9. Okay. Why the I on the 70? Because we have 7i times -10. You multiply the numbers, that i's got to come with it. Okay, it's almost like you and your boo. Okay, you about to multiply. You can't just leave the kids in the car. We about to go out. Where's your kids? They're somewhere. What? Trying to get arrested? They got to come with you. Okay. All right, no problem. Never mind. Gotcha. All right, so now this 21i squared. So the I squared, remember, is equivalent to -1. And I think a lot of people, especially you guys, when you see this on GED or the ASVAB, Just by knowing this little bit of information that I squared is equal to -1, I bet you'll get the answers right now. I bet you'll get a little bit higher. So 21 times -1 gives you -21. So now you got another set of like terms. You got your -70 and your -21. So we can go ahead and combine those two. Oh, hold on. Okay, so that gives me a -91, and then bring down the -49i. And that's your answer. Okay, good job. Yep, it's all logic, exactly. But maybe that's why a lot of people, if I may say, have problems with communication. I've noticed based on my thing, when I have somebody that just don't know how to communicate, they struggle in math. All right, you got this one. Almost had it. All right, Big Al, another look. Okay. The reason why the -70, who asked that question? Yep. The reason why the -70 and the -21 are like terms, because they're both constants. They don't have a I next to it. It doesn't have any other variables next to it. It's like playing the matching game. So remember when you had one card that was an apple and you see another card that's an apple, that's a pair. Collect it, put it to the side. Okay. If it was separated by subtraction, that means you're just combining your like terms. Okay. If they're both negative right now, can you use X? Can I use X? What do you mean? Can I use X? Okay. All right, Faithful for Fear, thank you so much for joining up. Okay. All right, well, thank you. I try. Between parentheses is what I do. Okay, so if you have a plus or a minus sign, okay, we did one earlier, just like this one. If you have a plus or a minus sign, all you're doing is combining like terms. So -1 minus 3, that's where we got our -4. -I minus 5, that's where we got our -6i from. Okay, we're combining like terms and we're respecting what the operation is. Okay, but if there's no plus or minus sign in between, you're doing your multiplication. All right? Yes. Okay. What's 70 minus 21? It's like Pample. Pample? Is that how you pronounce it? 70 minus 21. Okay. Got it? All right. Awesome. All right. So let's see if we can get... There is another one. Let's see if we can get a couple more in here. And then I'm going to ask for some more. All right. Let's try with this one. Okay, so again, we are going to simplify. So we got the square root of 121 minus the square root of -180 minus the square root of 36 plus the square root of -5. Okay. And I will have to, and I'm going to say to you guys, I'm really glad that even if you're just listening with me in one ear and you're doing something else, the fact that you are here, that you want to develop and you want to grow. I know there's a lot of people that are just like, oh, that's way too hard and I'm out. The fact that you are still sticking with it, you're still trying, that speaks volumes. No one can take that away from you. At least you're trying. You're trying to apply. And when you feel the courage to ask a question, I tried to see them. But I'm really glad that you're here to do this. With mixed radicals, sometimes I do. I just wanted to try some things out. So that's why a lot of this stuff is handwritten, because if you notice any of my flashcards, if I really want to put them together, I actually put them together quite nicely. But I was just figuring, you know what? Let me get it down and dirty, if I may say so, like that. Let me get it all down and dirty, and before I start spending a lot of time putting things together, and people are like, Audrey, this sucks. Okay? Because this is what I generally do with a lot of my note cards. So I have a lot of note cards, which I'll explain towards the end what it is, how to get them, and what can we do. All right. So I have Wild One. I got user 21 with 8, Wild One with 11. You're checking your GED February 16th. Okay. All right. So I want to say a good, a little more than 2 weeks. Okay. We can definitely do this. All right. This is definitely doable. Okay. That negative outside the square root keeps throwing you off. All right. Why? It's just throwing you off. At the end of the month. Okay. Awesome. So upcoming, what's your goal? What's your goal? How far do you want to get? What branch are you going into? Logarithmic function, I do. But mostly I might have to do a set of those, because I know a lot of my students, especially Algebra 2 students, are in logs right now. Logs and exponentials. Yep, I love doing logs. Joining the Army? Okay. Not to put your business out there, but if you don't mind sharing, what was the last time you took the test? Or is this your first time taking it? Upcoming. Yeah, I might throw some log stuff together. But I know a lot of people generally like the easy things, but now I'm just like, you know what? If you want easy, go somewhere else. Let me push you so you can pass these tests. Because the test doesn't really speak volumes about who you are and what you can do. We just have to jump over this hurdle so people can see who you are and what you're bringing to the table, and they should be paying you for your worth. That's just how I feel. So let's break this barrier together, because I had to learn how to do it. Because anytime I speak about that child, I speak of myself. That's who I was. So you got a 19. Okay. Yeah, it gives me an idea what you need to work on. All right. Okay, so I had a couple people answer. People are like, I just want to listen to you, Audrey. You're just a kicking ass that I need. I'm like, all right, feel the foot. I got a size 12 in women's basketball. I blame basketball. It widened my foot. All right, so right away, we have the square root. Whoops. I don't know where all my cards went. We have the square root of 121. So think of it this way. We got the square root of 121. 121, it comes from 11 squared. So 11 squared is not, and I repeat, is not 11 times 2. 11 squared is 11 times 11. All right? So if I take and I merge it, remember, the square root and the squares, they're opposites of each other, so they will cancel each other out. What's left is the 11. So we have the square root of 121, that's 11. Bring down the minus sign. Now, square root of a negative 180. That means we need to factor this, almost like that factor tree back in the day, right? So we know we got a negative 1 here. And we got that 180. So we need to break down the square root of 180. We want to break that down so we can have a perfect prime combination. So I know, again, a lot of us haven't been in school for a long time. So this is why I do some of the things that I do. So in my notebooks and in a lot of my other books like this, Algebra at Your Pace, this is like the workbook that I have to help people, pass their GED, their ASVAB, and ACCUPLACER. And inside it has a factor chart because sometimes we all don't know our factors, right? So if we zoom in to 180, maybe I'm going to zoom out a little bit, not by much. Right? So for 180, these are the factors of 180. So this is what you can do to kind of help practice. The more exposure you have for these things, the better things are. So we have 1 and 180, we have 2 and 90, 3 and 60, 4 and 45, 5 and 36, 6 and 30, 9 and 20, 10 and 18, 12 and 15. But notice what's in red. What's in red is what I like to call that perfect prime combination. See? Perfect prime combination for factoring. So you will get to your answer so much quicker. Like all these will work. Yes, I know a lot of people probably used 10 and 18. That's great. But I still got to break down the 10 and I still got to break down the 18. Whereas over here, I got 5 and 36 because 36 is a perfect square root. 5 is prime. So flip. I always put my perfect first. So I have my 36 and my prime is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 5 is prime. So if I can't break it down, I bring it down. But we cannot forget about my square root of -1. That is I. Okay? And all this is multiplication. I'm going to clean this up in a mo. Okay? There you go. Thank you. That minus sign, it comes down. Square root of 36, we just did that. Boom. That gives us 6. Plus sign. Bam. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the stickers. Now we got the square root of -5. Since we have a negative underneath the square root, that means we got to factor that bad boy out. So the square root of -1, that's I. And the square root of 5 is a prime number. So if I can't break it down, I bring it down. Okay? So this is what it's going to look like. Let me clean everything up. We have 11. Let me use a different color pen. We have 11. We have minus. Let me clean this up. The number always comes before the I. So we have 6I square root of 5. We don't want to put the I next to the square root on the back end because you're going to look like, oh, I forgot to extend it. No. Okay, the reason why the I is out here is because we factored out that -1. Then we have our -6. Then we have our plus I square root of 5. All right. I'm going to put this underneath it so I can extend it. Okay, so now, like terms. Well, I got 11 and I got -6. Those are like terms. They do not have an I. They do not have a square root of 5. So 11 minus 6, that will give you your 5. Right? Thank you, Lars. Appreciate it. Now, I also have like terms with this -6I square root of 5 with this positive I square root of 5. The reason why these two are like terms, because they both have I square root of 5. So I just need to combine They're coefficients. Right here is a -6. Right here, oh, I don't see a number. It's assumed to be a 1. So -6 plus 1. You owe me $6. You paid me $1. That means you owe me $5. And guess what comes down with that 5? My I square root of 5. Because when you're adding or subtracting, all you're doing is playing the matching game. It's when you're multiplying and dividing, that's when things get a little fun. Okay. Okay, every one of these are difficult. Some see it a little easy. That's fine. Can't wait to see it on YT. Yes. Yes, I'm telling you, Big Al, I think I just had to download, not yesterday's, but the other days, Thursdays live, because I've been having so much trouble with TikTok and downloading my lives. So that's why you haven't seen anything for a while. Okay? But I think I should be able to do it. All right. Okay, definitely a 5Y1. Okay. Yep, you got it. All right. So now, here's another thing. I don't mind you taking screenshots. This is what you need to do. You're trying to do everything that you can, nice and free. Hey, that's fine. And I'm willing to do that because I'll even show you where else you can go to look at all of my recordings in a moment. But as you're taking these screenshots, are you looking at them afterwards? Or are you just basically gathering up all the nuts like a squirrel? Because I know a lot of people, they will hoard information and they are like, oh, so what did you do with the information? I don't know. No, if you're going to look at it, I want you to look at it. I want you to understand it. I want you to take a blank piece of paper, rewrite this problem on the blank sheet of paper, use your picture that you took for the screenshot. That's your answer key. Put your phone to the side, try to work out the problem. And when you think you're done, look at the phone. That's how you study math, not just flipping through pages. Okay. That's how you do. All right. All right. Okay. Just making sure. Because I don't want you to buy my books I love the support. That's great. But that doesn't do anything with my spirit. Okay? I don't want to sit here and say, well, shoot, maybe I should. The Holy Spirit told me to write these books. So that's what I'm doing. Okay? So with the algebra at your pace, that's basically what I do. Okay? So you are given a QR code, and most of the QR codes are in the beginning of the books now. I had to change that. But each section, you have a section, there is a video that you just have to scan it, and you will watch the video and you will take down your notes. Okay, I'm going to do a video on how to use everything sometime soon. Okay, and then on the back end side, you have a practice section. So any type of practice that I have, you can write them down. So it's almost like you're taking a class, right? And you just have to pay for the book. And then on top of it, I give you, let me see if I can unscreen that. There we go. I give you some extra practice problems. And now this is the one thing that I also taken to heart with my teaching. I can give you extra practice problems, but giving you 50 extra practice problems is not going to do it. The human brain, when you get to your problem number 8 or 9, you're ready to be done. But you push yourself to do problem number 10. Then after 10, that's when you start screwing up. That's when you start getting overwhelmed. That's when you start confusing yourself. So I just give you a right amount of problems for you to get the taste in order for you to get the understanding and be able to apply. And at the very end of each volume, okay, there is an end of chapter test, okay? Sometimes it's 10 questions, sometimes it's 15 questions. You sit down, you time yourself, and then, of course, I give you the answers. So you can get with the straight answers. You can get with the straight answers, But if you want an explanation, that's my upgrade. I've actually made recordings. All you have to do is just scan the QR code or maybe, copy and paste this part. You pay $5.99 and you will get the extra practice answer keys as well as the end of chapter answer key for the whole volume for just one. Right now, there are 6 volumes that are out. So we have this one for integers and exponents. Oops. Then we have this one for functions, factors, ratios, order of operations. We have this one for solving equations, so solving those one-step, multi-step equations. And sometimes I give you a little gift. I might even give you some flashcards that I'm selling on the very back. I'm also giving you the multiplication. I'm giving you the list of things. I'm giving you process things, some resources, some references to help you with this whole situation. Okay? And all you have to do, if you just want the instruction, this is the one on the very front page. You scan this. You already paid for the book. You scan this. It'll take you, and it'll give you the whole list of all the instructional videos. So then you can work at your pace. Okay? You don't have to worry about getting a tutor. I'm basically there. Linear equations, which a lot of people, this should be sold out. Okay, linear equations. This is those 4-point questions I was talking about. Inequalities, systems, absolute values. All of that is in here. You take down the notes. You do the practice. The answer keys, most of the time, if you got practice on one side, the answer key is usually on the backhand side. But if you want the step-by-step, you can get that. Okay? So this has 5 and 6 combined. Then, if you need some resources, formula reference cards, just like this, distance, rate, and time. You can play a matching game. Cut the cards out the book. Okay? Area of a rectangle. Boom. There's that. If you don't like it, and you can laminate them yourself if you want. But look, it comes with 4 cards per page. And it gives you an answer key so you can do your matching. Okay? Okay? Right? Okay, so linear algebra, I haven't done any. I'm just really focusing on the assistance part. Okay? Yep, and it can be hard for students. And then this one gives you all the formulas that you're basically going to be using for the GED, the ASVAB, and the ACCUPLACER test. And even for those people that are doing TEAS tests. Okay? I've done some other stuff. Okay? Order of operations, mastering. So that's the answer key. I'll give you solutions. So you can play a matching game. Are you doing it correctly? Did you get the right answer? And guess what? If you didn't get the right answer, you got somewhere to go. You got a person that you can message to say, hey, Audrey, I did this one problem and I just keep getting the wrong answer. What am I doing wrong? Hi, I'm a human being and I will message you back. Okay? All right. So most of the books are through the A. Okay? Since you see, a lot of this is in color. So color ain't cheap. Okay, but I try to keep the prices as basic as I can. It's like $22. The flashcards are $17.99. Okay, and this is what you can do. You can cut them. If you want to laminate them, if you have a laminator, you can go ahead and laminate them and just take it from there. Okay. So not only do I have those, there's some other ones that are coming out. But if you need something right here, right now, I know a lot of people just left, just fine. But this is where you can go to watch my replays. Okay, all the replays of my lives. Yeah, I'm selling books. I'm doing all this other stuff. But this is free too. You can go here, type in this. See, isn't it beneficial when you stick around? All right, if you could do me a favor and subscribe, I would love to get to around 1,400 over there. That would be kind of cool. But you can see there's a playlist that says YouTube, TikTok Lives. Okay, And you will see all my lives since February the 2nd. And next Monday coming is actually going to be my year anniversary of doing these lives. Okay? So if you want, yeah, it is US based, not Canada. Yeah, some definitely in the US. Okay? So you can have fun, get the books. If you don't know where to start and you know you're struggling, volume 1 is going to be the thing to do. Okay? So you got your volume 1, you got your volume 2, volume 3, 4, and 5, 6 is combined in a book. But I also have other resources. Okay? So I just mentioned this. We have the squares and the cubes flashcards. I've been using a couple of them. Okay? So you can do the matching game. Because some of you guys, a lot of the things that you struggle with is you don't know your multiplication table. Maybe you had to leave school. Maybe you weren't in school during that time when they were doing that. Maybe you were traveling. Whatever the reasoning. But it's time for you to get to know your multiplication tables. It will make life so much easier. Okay? Verbal to algebraic matching cards. Here's an example. The quotient of a number in 25. Okay? What is the quotient of a number in 25? How would I translate that? Okay? How would I translate this into an algebraic expression? What would it look like? Do I have bundles? I do not. Not at this time. Yes. It really does. Doesn't it, Janice? It makes life so much easier. Hello, Lisa. How are you? Okay. Chloe. Well, nope. Okay. Big Al, yes. I had to take a look at really close. Okay. So a quotient of a number in 25. So we need to translate that. Okay. So Big Al gave me an example one. So when you get those word problems and they ask you the quotient of a number in 25, now I know that quotient means division. How many of you guys struggle with that? That's probably the reason why a lot of you guys didn't put anything down. Because you were like, what the hell is a quotient? Right? So we know now quotient means division of a number, which is our variable, X, Y, M, P, whatever, except for E and I, because we know now those are numbers, and 25. Okay? So here's another one. The product of 4 and a number. Okay? Right? So the product of 4 and a number. How would you exchange that from verbal to an algebraic expression? It's not going to be this. This was from the last one. Product. The product of 4 and a number. Yes, friends. Okay, we got our 4x. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're not even looking at this part. I should actually flip that over. So just the product of 4 and a number. There we go with the 4n, 4x, 4x. There you go. No problem. No problem. Okay. So since we're just doing with product means multiplication. Okay. Yes. So now, Lars, don't use an x because that gets confusing. Because 4xn, you're probably like, no, I'm saying 4 times n. That's why I feel like early on, and I know my stuff, it drives me crazy, that we should not be teaching kids to use x as multiplication because it confuses them when they get older. Right? Because 4x, x is our unknown. But when you see xn, a lot of people thinking that you're talking about 2 different variables. Okay? So this is why I do these things. Not because, you don't know how to do things, like you don't know how to do math. It's just a matter of like having someone breaking it down to you. And that's the reason why I did the workbooks is because now you can do it at your time. You don't have to worry about when I'm available. You can just do it. And if you have a question, you can always ask. You know, this is early on that we can actually do this. You know, and if you want me, you can get me. All right, so other resources, we talked about this, exponents, we've actually done a couple of things, and then I added multiplying integers and dividing integers. I've seen a lot of multiplying cards, and it's usually up to 10. My cards are up to 16. And I do some of them with one negative and some of them when both are negative. So you can get used to the rule while learning your multiplication tables. And I did the same thing with the division. And these books are thicker than a Snicker because there's a lot. And I tried to do it as a matching. Okay. All right. So that's basically me. So if you have taken your GED before and you have received your breakdown, look at the breakdown. Look at what are the things that you need, that you need to study. Use that to your advantage. Because if they keep talking about slope over and over and over again, if they keep talking like this person, you know, they were like, find the slope of the graph, find the slope of the line, volume, surface area. This will kind of give you an idea of what you need. Okay, soon I'm going to be putting out the statistics one. Okay, I know I got to step up my game. Actually, I should just get off of here and start working on those today. But this person kept seeing slope over and over and over again. So I know that's the person that I would definitely be recommending volume 4. If slope is that one that you were missing. Because volume 4 will cover this, volume 5 will cover this, but volume 4 will cover this, volume 1 or 2 will cover this. And I basically just take a lot of these things. And the same thing for the ASVAB. Okay? Yep, with the system of equations. Okay? So, if you are interested in purchasing, and I understand, hey, Christmas just came and went. A lot of us are still recovering from Christmas. Like for me, Christmas was canceled like the last 3 years. This is what happens when you get divorced. But if you are interested and you're like, I just want to start a book, okay, start with volume 1. Or if you're like, look, I've taken the test before and I just can't get slope, well then do volume 4. That's why I try to put them into volumes, that because some of you, if I put in one big book, like most of these other books like ASVAB for Dummies, GED for Dummies, and all this other stuff, they give you this big thick book and you only use like 1/8 of it. See what I did right there? So I'd rather you grab what you need and then work that to death. You know, slope, algebraically and graphically, slope and parallel and perpendicular lines. All you have to do is just register. Once you purchase your book, on the very front, there's a QR code, or you can type in the link and it'll just come in just to check in. And then you're just like, hey, just type in your email address, because sometimes I don't know who's buying my stuff on the A. And it sucks because I want to say, hey, thank you so much for purchasing. And I want to let you know when the new stuff is coming out. So that's why I had to do it this way. And then you'll get a link that will take you directly to all of the recordings for this volume. Okay. Yep. On A. Yes. I know we can't say. Do I tutor calculus? I don't. Pre-calculus, yes. That's like my max. Calculus, that's too much brain power, especially with me being slammed the way I am. And then have to change my mind around. So I'm so sorry. But if you do need a calculus tutor, just let me know. Because I do have. It's like, you love calculus? Awesome. Okay. So I do have some friends that does calculus. All right. So all of it is here. And again, at the very back, sometimes I give a little extra gifts, but I always give some reference pages, to help out with this volume. All right. Yes, you can. If anything, there is a link in my bio here on TikTok. If you just go to that, it's almost like a link tree. And what happens if you just want the algebra at your pace, just click on that and it'll take you directly to where, so you don't have to go searching on the A. Because we all know, like, once you sign up on the A, all of a sudden you're like buying like a chinchilla and a tea kettle. Like, what the hell? And you're like, I came here for pens. Why am I all of a sudden looking at my cart and it's $200? Because you know how it is. It's very addicting. But yes, it will take you directly to it. So you can do, if you're Prime, you'll be able to get your little Prime, maybe get it a lot earlier. But I also offer digital. So if you want, there is a digital copy, which is definitely the same exact stuff, but you can get it the same day. And it is a little bit cheaper than getting the book. But a lot of people like the book. I just like to give that as an option. All right. Yep, you can find it on the A. The brown box with the smiley face. I can't say the name or I would get dinged from TikTok. And yeah, we don't know. You prefer digital? Yep. Yep, it will give you both of the options. And even my resources, the flashcards and all that stuff, yep, you can purchase them digitally. All that. Everything is there. So on that lamp, first you have like the algebra, then you have the math resources, which is like the flashcards. And then there is my math notebooks. So if you have kids that, or maybe yourself, want to have an actual notebook, you're taking a class and you want to have a lot of these resources on hand, you can do with the math notebook. Or if you have any questions about tutoring, you can do that as well. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I take pride in organization as best I can. All right. Oh, I better get going. I'm acting like I got nothing else to do. I got a tutor in about 15 minutes. All right. So, but if you have any questions before making any kind of purchases, I get it. Go ahead and message me. Even if we're not friends yet, we're not following each other, but I always look at my request section. Just tell me what exactly you're thinking about, and I will give you whatever option you need. Okay? Because I'd rather you invest, because that's what you're going to do. I'd rather you invest in something that is going to be worthwhile. I don't want you to just throw money away, because guess what? You tried to do it your way. And I'm not saying that goes up, but you can actually teach yourself incorrectly. It's easy to do. I've done it several times in my life. So now I was just like, okay, I need that organization. I need that confidence. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay. So tomorrow I will be here. I think I'm going to be looking a little bit at the rational functions, because that's the next part that's on that same book that I want to use, and see if I can get some sample questions for that. And then I will definitely take a look at log and exponential flashcards, because I might put all of this into one flashcard, into one book. So, all right. Well, thanks, Jenny. Not a problem. How everything is arranged. Thank you. Thanks for your math app. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for coming and sticking to it. I know it's not easy. People are probably being triggered every time they see math, but I'm chiseling away a little bit of that trigger. Hopefully this kind of helps you guys out. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Definitely in the afternoon. Not sure about the morning, but we'll see. But definitely in the afternoon, probably around this time. And but again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Give me a few moments and let's see if TikTok is acting properly, that I can actually download and upload on YT so you can get the replays of all this. All right. The other days, the replays are gone. Like, I can't do anything with it. So, but hey, We move forward, right? We move forward. All right. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want to say afternoon. I want to say like around this time, like around 3 or 2:30. That's what I want to say. Because I do have somebody at 4 o'clock unless they cancel on me again. All right. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Be safe. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.